Okay, day 296 off the grid, and yeah, it's a pretty good day today. Baphie's come home from the hospital this morning and she's currently inside having a sleep on the couch, which we've folded out to the bed that it can be. Seems to be more comfortable and easier than getting her into the bedroom at the moment, but it's great she's home. I'm pretty pleased about that. But while she's asleep, I'm doing a spot of solar up on the roof of the bee shed. Yeah, see, up on the roof of the bee shed. There's the hills over there. That's the roof of the A shed. Anyway, so yeah, this is basically I'm sorting things out for a particular way. I'm running the 24-volt bank in the bee shed, but I don't think I'm going to make this video about it, but rather talk about that when I'm actually down in the shed. I just wanted to really show, well, what I've been doing up here today. Well, first of all, these panels that are hickledy-pickledy here are on this, what I call the monorail. It was an experiment to see how simply you could mount a solar panel, and it's been totally successful. Just a 4x2, one I think I found down the beach, a single aluminium bracket at each end, and just Tex screws, my bottle cap grab washers. And yeah, I mean, this has been through all the winds and stuff, no problem at all. It's a robust system of mounting. I'd probably only mount small panels like this. I mean, one's twice the size would get a bit awkward, but that's not what I really want to show. What I want to show is, well, first of all, this panel sitting down here will sit on this end. That's a single 12 volt 50 watt panel running a 12 volt battery bank in the shed down there. These two here, naughtily being a mono and a poly, and I might change that at some point, were coupled together in series and fed down those black cables to feed the 24 volt system in here. Well, that's obvious. These two here appeared and feed the 24 volt too, and as do these in a slightly different way, and I'll get back to that. Now, what I wanted to do though today is have individual feeds for each of these two panels down to the shed, rather than having a series connection. Yeah, I know it uses more copper, but this is a short run, so that's by the by, really. So I bought this blue cable here. It's 3mm speaker cable. I've used it before, you've probably seen it on my videos. It seems to do the job pretty well. See how long it stands up to the weather in the long term. So what I was going to do is connect it to the junction point of these two panels here, separate them and connect it. But that would have been really messy, because it would have meant that one pole of one panel would come down one of those gnarly old black cables, and then the other side of that panel would be half of that blue cable, and same for the other panel. So that would have been a bit rubbishy. So I thought what I'd do is pinch the yellow cables, which are single cables as well, as you can see, off this one over here, and just use the new blue cable for this 12 volt setup here. It was convenient that in both these situations I had used my poor man's MC4 connectors, and I've made up some new ones here. So I actually really wanted to make this video. Oops, oh, that's alright, I'll sort that out later. Yeah, I really want to make this video here just to really show these connectors. And yeah, they're just bullet connectors, really, is all they are. Well, that one's got a bit of flux on it. I should scrape that off before I plug them together. Yes, I soldered on. I always solder stuff that's going to be outside whenever it's practical. I mean, I'm okay now. I've got a reasonable crimping tool, and I don't mind crimping things inside the power room for convenience, expediency. But when I'm outside, I always try and solder things. So, you know, it just mimics an MC4 in the sense that it's got a male and a female one, and of course this is the end of the cable receiving the power, so the pin is basically the positive and the hole is the negative, of course. On the item that's sending the power, the solar panel, of course, the hole is the positive and the pin's the negative. So basically the way I make these, of course, is I just use standard bullet connectors, other blue ones in this case, and But what I do is I strip off the most of the casing of it. In the case of the socket here, I stripped off the back of it so I can make a clean soldered connection without melting plastic. And then what I do is I just put a coating down from about this length down here of hot melt glue, and then when I slide the heat shrink over it and melt it down, of course the glue remelts, and I basically get glue shrink for free. You know, glue shrink is quite expensive, and it's not easy to get in the smaller gauges, and so this makes perfectly good glue shrink basically just by using hot melt glue. So that's pretty cool. They are definitely cheaper than buying MC4s, although MC4s aren't particularly expensive anymore. You can get them pretty cheap anyway, but sometimes, you know, you got one of these lying around, you don't have an MC4 and you don't want to wait. Well, there we go. Once I couple them together, I just put a lick of tape around the junction so it keeps them pretty waterproof. And yeah, as you can see, these ones have been out for a while in the job and they're still good as. And same with these ones over here, lots of yucks on the cables, but the connectors, all good. There they go. So I'll be using these yellow cables to connect to these ones. So each one of these panels will come down a yellow and a black. And the polarities of the yellow and the black cables will be opposite on each panel. So that'll be convenient to tell them apart. So there'll be a positive black and a positive yellow, and a negative black and a negative yellow. And they'll sort of, you know, be together in pairs, black and yellow, and so it'll be pretty difficult to confuse them, and I don't want to confuse them the way I'm going to be wiring this up down below. So that's about it really before this other sloppy weather here goes to pants totally. I think we might just put these back together. I'll finally get rid of these bits of foam that I used as the end cheeks on my end solar panels, so that the grab washers have got something to bite on. And I just was in a hurry and I was a bit slack, so I just used these bits of foam that were lying around. The sun's totally got to them and killed them. So I'll cut a few bits of wood up like I normally do for the ends there. Yeah, that's about it really. That's about it. Day 296. This is the video for today. I don't think I'll be showing the stuff in the shed today. I may do, who knows. This is already bloody long, 7 minutes just to talk about a couple of connectors and a couple of panels. But you know, yeah, these ones here have always been fed down into the shed as separate cables for each panel, which is kind of handy. I mean, people would say, no, you don't want to do it that way for series. You want to series them up on the roof and then just feed two wires down. Well, yeah, but that's better for your length of cable, but it's not so good for, well, convenient. Well, not convenience, but, you know, what's the word I'm looking for here? You know, if you want to, well, it's convenience, I guess it is. Versatility, there you go, because when you've got each panel down on a separate cable down to the shed, you can configure them in different ways. If I want to run these on a 12 volt system, I can parallel them down the shed. If I want to run them on 24, I can series them, you see. And I'm sure not everyone is like me and wants to muck around with things and change things all the time, but I do, and so I like to create situations that are relatively easy to change when I want to change it, yet are robust enough to leave as permanently as I want them to be too. So it's finding that balance there, which is a little bit of a challenge, but it's doable. It's doable. You know, you don't want to build something up too good if at some point you're just going to tear it apart, but then you don't want to build things too sort of just sloppily and then they just fall apart when you don't want them to. So, you know, it's a balance. So that'll do for today. Anyway, glad that Baffy's home then. That's the main thing, eh? And it's our anniversary today, 9 years. 9 years. 9 years ago I would have been doing something completely different than standing on a roof with some solar panels, I tell you. At this point it would have been, well, maybe even having a sound check, getting ready for the show that we played, the Beltane played at the Fat Club in Nelson on this night 9 years ago, except it was a Friday night, or Saturday night even, actually, it might have been. It's basically a Halloween gig, but of course the Halloween day sort of was on a stupid weekday, so the show itself was on the 28th. But yeah, yeah, that's that really. So well, it was a bit similar today in the sense that I was at home and Poppy brought Baffy home, so I was waiting for her to arrive here. It's like I was waiting for her to arrive in Nelson all those years ago. But hey, 9 years, eh? It doesn't seem like 9 years. It really doesn't seem like 9 years, eh? It's like a flash in the pan, eh? Another 9 years, be 18 years. And it'll be wake up tomorrow, it'll be 18 years. Another 9 years, it'll just gone. Who knows? Who knows what I'll be doing on this day in 9 years from now? Well, even 5 years from now. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, well, the beacon's on the because I've disconnected the solar feed, so the panel thinks it's dark. Well, the controller thinks it's dark, so it did the ding dongs before. Of course, it'll think it's daytime again when I reconnect them. But anyway, that is certainly enough